The Chicago Sky have a quiet trade deadline, much to the dismay of some Chicago Sky fans. Plus, Angel Reese gets a new deal, and Yeresa Weatherspoon says who the most versatile player on this team is, and it's not who you think it is. We're going to get to all that and more right after this.
Welcome to Chicago Sky Central, and here's your host, Haize.
What's going on, Sky fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Sky Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Sky related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chicago Sky Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. And so I want to start off with the Chicago Sky's quiet trade deadline. And this was a deadline that went by after the Sky have already traded away Marina Mabrey. And no, the Sky did not go out and get a point guard. They did not go out and get shooters. They didn't trade Dana Evans or any other player that you're upset with. And that was always what was going to happen. And I think I understand why Sky fans, both old and new, look at this team and say, hey, we need this, we need that, because we do. But I think the Chicago Sky have just prioritized development. The Chicago Sky are already ahead of where the team was expected to be. And I think some people forget that this team is not at the place where they're trying to make moves to win now and give up assets. They're at a place of holding on to their assets. And the assets that they had that they would have moved, like a Dana Evans, who reportedly they did shop, is not going to net you back anything that changes the outlook of this team. And I think, and I understand the heartache that brings a lot of Sky fans, or the hope, right? As always, as fans, we're always hoping that our team's going to make this move or that move to drastically improve the team. In the Sky right now are in a place where development is the focus, not only development, but evaluation. And I know some people are going to say, well, how can you really evaluate this team without having the pieces that you need? Well, you can't. That's the point of your job. And you're looking at the individual pieces so you can know exactly what you need to add. And part of what this franchise is also looking at is who they're going to keep on this roster. And I think that goes into a quote we have from Yeresa Weatherspoon we'll get into during the next segment. But overall, I understand it, right? And I understand why, Sky fans said that, there's these point guards out there where we're going to add this, where we're going to do that. And it wasn't going to happen. And I, for the most part, have been telling you guys that. Now, when we had an open roster spot, it was different. I did think the Sky maybe could look to sign somebody or maybe wait to see who's waived and who doesn't get picked up. But, after making the trade for Marina Mabrey, bringing two players back for the one that we traded out, filling out the roster with no more open roster spots, it just wasn't going to happen. The Sky aren't going to give up any more picks for a team that is this young and is this far away, right? And I think, that's the thing, is that I get it. We have Angel. She's great. And I get it. We have Camilla, who's turning around. And we got Kennedy Carter, who's great as well. But there was no move for this Sky team to make realistically at the deadline that's going to change the Chicago Sky's outlook. They're already a team that is pushing and trying to compete for a playoff spot, which is good enough, right, for where you are right now. And if you can get Camilla and Angel, even if it is just one playoff series and a couple of games, if you can get them that experience, I think that goes a long way of again, you being ahead of your development already, because this Sky team was picked by a lot of outlets to be 12th in the WNBA. There's only 12 teams. They were picked to be 12th this season. So, I get it and I understand. But, you look at it, this team is really trying to evaluate, right? And the only pieces that the Sky team had that anybody around the league would have really been interested in is Kennedy Carter, Angel Reese, and Camilla Cardoso. And those are three pieces that the Sky are looking to hold on to, not looking to move off of. And while I get it, people are upset by Diamond DeShields. I was. You guys seen the video a couple of weeks ago that in evaluating Diamond DeShields' season. I get it that people are over Dana Evans, and it comes down to it. Those players, especially Dana being a free agent at the end of this year, they weren't going to net you back any type of assets that really change this team and where it's going to be. This is a team that is not going to be good over the back half of the season. Me and Steve have told you this is not going to be a good basketball team. Now, they're going to win some games by just how hard they play, by the skill that is here, by, the defense that they can play at times. Like, they're going to win some games. But Steve-O said it best when he said that expect some very ugly wins and some very ugly losses over the second half of the season. But this team is in development and evaluation mode. They're trying to see who's going to stick around on this team. Michaela Onyenwere is a player that could stick around on this team for sure, right? Seeing what a Rachel Banham, even though, her and Mariah Jefferson are under contract, it's good to have those veterans under contract, even with how young you're going. But this is going to be a team that is a lot new next season. There's going to be a lot of new pieces that are here on the Sky team next season, just by the nature of us having 2 first-round picks, by the nature of how many players that we also have that are not under contract, that are going to be free agents at the end of the year, on top of an expansion draft and a regular draft and all those type of things. When it comes down to it, I get it. It's upsetting. Make no mistake about it. I understand why people are upset. But this was not going to be the type of team that was going to make a splash move at the trade deadline. There were no splash moves to make. This guy didn't have the assets that they wanted to give up. And at the end of the day, they aren't at that place. Like, what would have moved for a point guard would have made right now for this guy? Would have maybe won them an extra playoff game. And I get it. We want to see this team go as far as possible, and you should. But again, I'm more realistic. When you look at this roster next season, the players that we have under roster are basically Angel Reese, Camila Cardoso, Kennedy Carter's a restricted free agent, Dana Evans a restricted free agent, Diamond DeShields is an unrestricted free agent, Mariah Jefferson, Rachel Banham, Lindsey Allen. Those are the veterans that we have under contract. Elizabeth Williams is an unrestricted free agent. So, like, all these players are coming up off of their contracts. Michaela Onyenwere, another restricted free agent. And I think it's more important for this guy because you're not going to let everybody go to evaluate what pieces fit where. They fit next to the young players. What do we think we're going to bring in? How many of these veterans we want to keep around? Who do we make available in the expansion draft? All those things are more important right now for where the Chicago Sky are than making some type of move that is going to get you some three-point shooting that is only going to help a little bit for where you are this season. And so, that's where it comes down to. Again, if the Sky were willing to give up some assets, maybe that was different if they had more young pieces. But so much of this team is coming off of their contracts next year. It's going to be a big thing for it. So the Sky are going to have roughly about $487,000 under the salary cap next season. So you look at that, that's going to come down to it. And that's a big thing. I'm sorry, they're going to have a little over $1 million. It's actually, our roster's only a little over $400,000. So that leaves you a lot. That leaves you a lot of space to do some things with, right? And so we'll see what the Sky do. Keep in mind, this isn't the NBA. The Sky salary cap is $1.5 million. So we're going to have most of our cap available to us if we do want to make a splash move then. Even if you do want to make a trade then and absorb some salary, send out some future picks without having to match and send a player that you may want to keep, the Sky are going to have that flexibility, as well as the restricted free agents, even with Dana Evans, right? Whether the Sky want to keep her or not. If a team does want to kind of get her a little bit of extra money, much like when we got Marina Mabry, sign-in trades are available for restricted free agents. So the Sky have some flexibility in that, and I think they maximize, or they value the flexibility and the development over the second half of the season. And also, keep in mind, the Sky are trying to keep their own first-round pick as well in this one. When they have 2 first-round picks, there was no need, as much as we want for this team to be better, there's no need to kind of make a deal where you got to give up something. Now, the best chance that the Sky would have had to bring in some considerable talent while still making a trade would have maybe been Marina Mabry. But again, we got the first-round pick over the talent in that case. Had they been looking for a player right now for Marina Mabry, there are other teams that would have been interested. But they made the move for future picks, and I think that shows you where this team is right now. They are building for the future. They are not caught up in just the right now. And us as fans, we are in the right now, right? We want to see this team win now. And I've said it before. Me and Steve have said it. The hardest thing to do sometimes is to look at the future. And that's what this team is trying to do. That's what Jeff Paglioccia is trying to do now. No, they're not tanking either, right? They're going to try to win every game from here to the end of the season. They're not tanking to try to make themselves have this higher pick. But I think the Sky have read the tea leaves and have understood now that this is where this team is. This team is probably going to get in the playoffs. And even if they don't get in the playoffs because of whatever, then all right, they're going to have a lottery pick. And those two things, either or, are really valuable to the team. If you get some playoff experience for your first-year players in Kennedy Carter, great. If you don't and you miss out on the postseason, then you get an even better pick. And right now, it doesn't seem like you're gonna have a higher pick than the Dallas Wings, so you're not really worried about them taking your pick either with that pick swap. So right now was the perfect time for this guy to kind of stand pat, just let the season play out the way that it's naturally going to conclude, and we'll see where we stand. We already have lost the Atlanta Dream are catching up ground on us. We started off 2 games above them. We only have a 1-game lead on them now. The Dream are going to be playing much better on the back half of the season. So the Sky have a possibility of being in that area. And keep in mind, the Dallas Wings aren't that good either. So they're one of 3 teams with only 6 wins. So even if we were to have a worse record than the Dallas Wings somehow, or end up with a better pick than them, their pick is still going to be in that lottery, and you still get a chance with 2 bites at the apple to get some really good prospects there. So that's where it stands with the Chicago Sky. Moving on from that, and one of the things that I think plays into the Sky being in an evaluation mode is one of the comments that came out from Yeresa Weatherspoon. So she was asked about who the most versatile player on this team is, and she said this: I've spoken about Michaela since day one. She's our most versatile player. And listen, I know that's going to be something that maybe not a lot of people expected to hear. She goes on further to explain, even when she wasn't playing, you can look over at the bench and see she was an incredible teammate. But Michaela has worked her way into this lineup, and you see how special she is offensively and defensively. She can guard 1 through 5, puts the ball on the floor with tremendous power and strength. She plays a huge part in our success. And this, I think, goes into as well. Now, this is some of Yeresa Weatherspoon as a coach, I think, motivating her young player for the remainder of the season to kind of give a little bit more. But Michaela Onyenwere is in a place where this Sky team is looking to evaluate, how do you fit next to Kennedy Carter? How do you fit next to Angel Reese and out there with Camila Cardoso, right? Those are things that they're trying to do, because of Michaela Onyenwere, who admittedly hasn't shown a lot this season, but if she does show something in her going into restricted free agency and you keep her, even if it ends up being a bench piece or another young piece that you give a 1 or 2 year deal to see if she can round out her game a little bit more, this is a former Rookie of the Year. And while it was one of the most disappointing rookie classes in the WNBA, she still does have some talent there. And so Yeresa Weatherspoon, always the coach that's trying to motivate her players. And I think this plays into it as well. She's trying to give a little bit of extra motivation to Michaela to play a little bit better over the second half of the season and see what she's going to bring. And Michaela, for her, Worth said this: I'm always ready. When I wasn't playing as much, I just focused on being the best human I could be, but also staying prepared. Whether I play 2 minutes or 30 minutes, I'll always be ready. And we're going to need Michaela Onyenwere to be ready over the latter half of the season, because she's in now a starter, right? And she's no longer a question on if she's going to play. You're a starter, and nobody's really playing well enough right now to supplant you in that role. So at the end of the day, you're going to finish the season being a starter. She's only 25 years old, basically the same age as Kennedy Carter, and she still has a lot of potential left. Now, that may not be starting level potential, but there is more potential. And when you look at since we came back from the All-Star break, she's averaged basically 23 minutes per game over that break since the All-Star break. And so, the numbers themselves haven't been great, right? So it just hasn't. She hasn't scored a lot. She scored 5 points, 6 points, and 2 points respectively over those 3 games. But when you look at it, she's starting to fill the stat sheet, right? 2 steals, 2 rebounds, 2 points in 1 game, 6 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 1 steal, 2 assists, those type of things. Michaela Onyenwere, that's how you build confidence, is find ways to impact the game the best that you can. And when you get in your rhythm, that is where it's going to be a little bit special for. So I think Michaela Onyenwere, Yeresa Weatherspoon has basically put a highlight, because you know what Angel is. You know what Kennedy Carter is. You're still trying to figure out Camila Cardoso, but we know that she's going to be a part of this team in the future regardless of anything. But you're trying to figure out what that role, what the best situation for Michaela Onyenwere is, and how she fits next to these pieces you already know or hope are going to be part of your future for a while. So those are all things that are playing into it. They're again, I get it. I understand. A lot of people are upset by the no moves at the trade deadline. But when you look at trying to evaluate players like Michaela Onyenwere, when you look at how many players are going to either be restricted free agents or outright unrestricted free agents next season for the Chicago Sky, all those things play into this. You want to continue to evaluate because we're trying to get younger. And while Lindsey Allen, Mariah Jefferson, and Rachel Banham, all point guards, basically, right? Though some of those ladies are going to be made available at the for the expansion draft. But outside of that, you have all young players on this team, and you're trying to figure out who else can stick around. And for that, I'm not too mad at. But with that said, let's go ahead and get into the next topic, and that's on Angel Reese. Angel Reese announced a collaboration with Reese's officially now. It's actually going to be an apparel line. They've already announced it and released the pieces. And this is something that Angel Reese has been excited about. You saw it on social media. She said she's going to announce something later on that day. She announced it. It's this deal, saying that she's been trying to get a deal with them for 4 years. And this makes sense, right? You got Angel Reese, the Reese's brand. It just makes sense. It's called Reese's Angels is the name of the brand. We'll see. I probably won't be buying any of it. It's very woman focused, and that's perfectly fine. Go out and support Angel Reese. Get you some of it. Maybe I'll get my 13 or 16-year-old daughter some of this apparel. I won't be wearing it. I got enough. I got a special Angel Reese shirt coming in, though. But that's what it comes down to. And so, Angel Reese, who continually just shows that, and a lot of WNBA players, the WNBA brand is growing, and there are more and more brand opportunities for the WNBA players than ever before, and that is going to help solidify this league by players maybe not having to go out as much overseas and play, right? We know that Angel is playing in the Unrivaled League, and we'll see her there. But, this is just the continual growth of the game. And I, for one, can't be mad at the game continually growing and getting into the right direction that we want it and need it to be, so that these ladies can support, feed themselves and their family without necessarily having to go 3-4 months overseas in China or Russia or whatever it is. So, that's the thing that you're hoping that this league continues to go to. And, Angel Reese got this. She got to deal with Reebok, not her own signature shoe yet, but Angel's making moves this year. And for all this to happen in her rookie season, it's really kind of dispelling a lot of the kind of problems around the WNBA that we've seen for the last handful of years. Let's just hope that it continues. Now, with that said, we also got it announced that the Chicago Sky will host a Barbie theme night August 30th. This is in 8 days. This is next week. In the last game against the Caitlin Clark and the Fever. Listen, we know she's a Chi-Town Barbie, the Bayou Barbie, all those type of things. So the fact that they're hosting a Barbie theme night, again, it just plays into the brand. It's a smart thing. It's a smart ploy. Of course, they know everybody's going to want to see Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark again, even though they're not going to defend each other really any in that except on switches. So, it is what it is. And it's good that that this is officially with Mattel. And, we'll see if this works into a deal later on down the road with Angel Reese actually having maybe her own Barbie and partnering with Mattel at some point. So we know that Mattel is already doing some things with, trying to celebrate women's sports. And we'll see what else comes about this. So I think this is a really good deal. It's really good promotion for that. They may even announce a Barbie for Angel Reese and during this night. Wouldn't be surprised if they do. It would be taking advantage of everything that goes into it. So this is a really good thing, I think, for Angel Reese and for the Chicago Sky to kind of add a little bit of extra to one of their games. We don't always get to see that. So now that we do get to see it, I think that it's really good that we get to see that, and we get to see how it's going to continue to develop and things like that. So that's my thought process. That's the show for today. A little bit of a shorter show than normal. We usually try to go about 20 minutes, but we got a game tomorrow. Make sure you guys stay tuned in with us. I'm not sure if C-Dub will be doing a live call. If he does, make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. By the way, before I leave out, let me plug this. If you're a podcast listener and you listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, go and subscribe to us over on YouTube. It helps grow the channel there. If you're a YouTube watcher and you only watch us on YouTube, go and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. Since you can't leave reviews here at YouTube, go leave a review over there. It helps the podcast grow either way. That's how we can get some synergy between the podcast side and the YouTube side as well. So make sure you guys go and support that way. That's my time for today. Make sure you guys are following the show at Chicago Sky Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoSkyCentral@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Sky related, thanks to you guys. And I'll see you guys the next time we go to Skytown. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.